I'll have this room to myself, and the ugly wife can use the attic. Why must someone tell me something like this? Ultimately, this house was constructed by me. We were compelled to live together by the mother-in-law who broke into the new house I had built under my name. Yeah, that's a little bit. Would you dare reply to me? Amazing, she exclaimed. Normally, your mother-in-law, you just give it up and don't say anything to me. No way, I answered. Normally, you wouldn't just give it up, especially not to you, who has been tormenting me as a daughter-in-law. After that, my mother-in-law and I kept arguing for a while, but eventually it became old. If you're willing to live in the attic, just hurry up and say you'll give me this house, stupid ugly wife. My tolerance finally gave out at my mother-in-law's comment. Enough about the ugly and maid things. I understand if you're going to say that much. Okay, mother-in-law, just move into this house. It would have been better if you had just followed my instructions from the beginning. I'll be residing in this house from now on, she added. My mother-in-law was ecstatic to hear that I was moving. For now, she can be content, but let me clarify that I have never once stated that I would give up the house. After all, I am the owner of this house, and I will never forgive you for being such a cruel daughter-in-law to me. I made a deep-seated vow to exact revenge on my mother-in-law as soon as I left the house. Faith is my name. 4 years ago, I got married to Peter, who works at a car dealership and is my age. Faith, do you ever think about wanting a home of your own? Peter queried. Yeah, but we still don't have enough money saved up, do we? I hope to make more money. We live in a small apartment, and I work as a designer at a big advertising agency, but we still can't afford to buy a house. Dreaming of one day constructing our own house, we passed our days. We rarely quarrel and have a nice connection. But my mother-in-law, Peter's mother, and I don't get along at all. Are you Peter's wife? Your face appears to be unfortunate. I'm curious what Peter thought of someone like you, she scoffed. During our marriage introduction, my mother-in-law made a comment to me that I can still clearly recall. At that point, all I could do was endure and smile. My mother-in-law would frequently brag over the years, saying, "Listen, I've never been short of money." Although my husband was a director at a corporation when he passed away, we received a large sum of money in severance compensation. Are you not envious? Hey, quit it. It's awkward. That kind of bravado is unnecessary, Peter would say. It's okay because it's the truth, she answered. My family was well off and we had a maid as well. Well, while we're talking about it, would you be interested in working as my housemaid? No, thank you, I responded. I'd rather not. I had never met someone who boasted about their fortune to such an extent. My mother-in-law must have been quite wealthy based on the way she spoke, but Peter didn't generally talk about that kind of thing. It's likely that he decided he didn't want to be like his mother after growing up with her. Peter inquired, "Hey, what's up? You're dozing off." I apologize. I just started daydreaming about the past, I answered. It was during our financial conversation that I unintentionally recalled having met my mother-in-law. I really should get over thinking about her. Even though it's about a 30-minute walk from our flat to my in-laws' place, I guess my spouse keeps everything under control. I am very content with our few annual meetings, even though my mother-in-law doesn't come to visit us very often. I reasoned that there should be no harm as long as we maintained a reasonable distance, but because of something that happened, my mother-in-law ended up mistreating me horribly. It happened when I got back from work 6 months later. My spouse was seated on a chair, his expression solemn. "Peter, why are you looking so serious? What's not right?" I inquired. He fell to one knee and began to cry. I apologize profusely. My employment has been terminated. What? However, why? The corporation was found to have committed some wrongdoing. Profits declined as a result, and they made the decision to reduce. I was also singled out because of my poor sales performance. Thus, there has been a layoff. This is beyond my control. Thus, I cannot hold my husband responsible. All we'll have to do is find somewhere else. But if we continue to pay the apartment's rent, our income will decline, and who knows when we'll be able to purchase a house." "Yeah, that's true, but we have no choice but to try and cut back, right?" stated Peter. He was accurate. My income would be the only consistent source going forward. As I was contemplating my next move, my spouse proposed that we move in at his parents' home. "Hey, I know you might not like this, but how about we ask my mother if we can spend some time living at my parents' house? We may save on rent in this way." Yes, that would reduce our rent and possibly even enable us to make a small savings. It was, I suppose, a matter of necessity. To be honest, I didn't want to live with my mother-in-law, but my husband and I made the decision to move into his parents' home after talking it over. We moved out of our apartment and to my in-laws' house a week later. "I'm glad to see you." "Hello," remarked my mother-in-law. "I'm grateful," I answered. "You'll have us for a while." I hadn't seen my mother-in-law in a long time, and I felt scared, even though she hadn't done anything yet. Seeing me like that, my mother-in-law smirked. "You're staying in this house, so you understand, right?" Sorry, what do you mean?" "Well, it's obvious. You'll be doing the cleaning, laundry, and shopping, right?" "Of course. It's only natural that you'll do at least that much. Now you can use any room you like, but please start with cleaning the living room," she said as she left for her room. Well, if I'm staying here, I'll do what I can, I thought. I almost let out my inner thoughts, but I managed to hold back. I work too, and surely my mother-in-law must understand that. But I was naive. The very next day, the severe harassment from my mother-in-law began. "Aren't you coming back from work too late? Look, the laundry is piling up. Please clean the bathroom today. Also, hurry up and make dinner. I'm so hungry I could die." If she's going to say that much, it wouldn't hurt her to do some of it herself, but I didn't have the courage to say such things to my mother-in-law. It would be troublesome if I upset her and she kicked me out. "I'm sorry, I'll do it right away." Maybe it was wrong to obediently follow her at that moment. From that day on, the harassment from my mother-in-law escalated day by day. "Bring me some tea. I'm tired. Give me a massage." Every day after work, I was overworked by my mother-in-law and had no time to rest. I wanted to leave this place as soon as possible. I wished for that, but it seemed my husband hadn't found a job yet, so we couldn't leave his parents' house. "Mother-in-law, I'm sorry, but I come home late because of work. If possible, could you help with the household chores during the day?" I asked. "Huh? Why do I have to do it? If you're going to say such things, you might as well quit your job." She told me to quit my job. It's not so easy to just be told that. That night, before going to bed, I told my husband what his mother had said today. "Your mother told me if I can't manage the housework, I should quit my job. Could you maybe ask her to help a little with the chores? It's hard to say, but isn't it okay if you just quit your job?" He said, "What are you saying? You haven't found a job yet, and if I quit, we really couldn't live, could we?" "It'll be okay. We'll make it somehow." My husband said it would be okay as if it was someone else's problem, but there was no sign that he was actually looking for a job. Even if I came home early, he was just lounging on the sofa. On weekends, he was just drinking beer from the morning. From that time, I started to think that I couldn't rely on my husband. Of course, he hadn't told his mother anything. 3 months passed, and the harassment from my mother-in-law continued as usual. At that rate, my mind and body would really break. With that thought, I decided to forcefully buy a new house. When I told my husband about buying a new house, he replied indifferently, "That's fine, isn't it?" I immediately took my husband to a real estate agent. If we were to build a new house from scratch, we would have to live with my mother-in-law for at least another 6 months. I couldn't wait that long. I chose a newly built home and signed a contract that day. Finally, I would be free from my mother-in-law's harassment. But my plans crumbled easily. 2 weeks later, it was the first weekend since we moved into the new house. It had been hectic with work and moving, so I thought I might organize some boxes today. Just as I was thinking this, the doorbell rang. Oh, who could it be? We've just moved in. Wondering who it could be, I checked the monitor of the intercom. What? Why? The monitor showed my mother-in-law. I hadn't given her the address. How did she know where we lived? Feeling a sense of dread, I spoke to her through the intercom. Mother-in-law, it's been a while. What a nice house. I've come for a visit. Hurry up and open the door, will you? It's quite messy right now. If you're here to visit, maybe another time would be better. Just open it quickly, she shouted. Hearing my mother-in-law shout, I inadvertently obeyed her. It reminded me of the times when I was dominated by her at my in-law's house. When I opened the front door, my mother-in-law ignored me and marched straight into the house. The smell of a new house. It's nice, isn't it? What brings you here today? I asked. My mother-in-law ignored my question and began walking around the new house, inspecting every corner as if appraising it. After a while, she started to say, "Which room is yours?" It's the room right up the stairs. You have quite good taste, don't you? I thought that room was nice, too. What would that mean? I couldn't understand the meaning behind my mother-in-law's words ever since she arrived. Mother-in-law, I'll ask again. What is the reason for your visit today? It's obvious, isn't it? I came to check on it because I'm moving in here. What? An involuntary, pathetic sound escaped me. Living here? I haven't heard anything about that. I've decided. I will live in your room. It's wasted on an ugly maid of a wife like you. No, wait a minute. That's so sudden. What? Do you have a complaint? Then I guess you have no choice but to use the attic. That should settle it, right? No, that was not what I meant. After all, I bought this house. However, my mother-in-law didn't know this and seemed to believe her son bought it. Peter earned the money to buy this house, didn't he? Then it's only natural that I live here, isn't it? Besides, your mother-in-law is asking you to give up the room. Isn't it just common sense for you, the daughter-in-law, to obediently hand it over? Like hell, that's common sense. The one lacking common sense is her. It's unthinkable to just show up and start living together. The arguments with my mother-in-law continued, but she showed no signs of giving up. Gradually, I grew exhausted, and it became a nuisance to even deal with her. If you're okay with the attic, then say so. Hurry up and give me this house, stupid ugly wife. Her words finally broke my patience. Enough, the ugly and maid talk. If that's how it's going to be, I understand. I understand. Then, mother-in-law, please live in this house. I will be leaving. You should have just obeyed me from the start, she said, laughing. Well, I'll be living in this house now. My mother-in-law was overjoyed to hear that I was leaving. She could be happy for a while, but let me make it clear. I have never once said I would give up the house. The ownership of this house is mine. I will never forgive you for tormenting me as your daughter-in-law. At that moment, I swore to get my revenge on my mother-in-law. I decided to leave the newly built house that very day. I had just bought and moved into a new home, and I never expected to end up in such a situation. Hey, Faye, what are you doing? You're packing up. I'm leaving this house, I replied. While I was packing up my room, Peter came in and spoke to me. Seeing his carefree expression made me even more furious. After all, it's because he didn't seriously look for a job that I had to endure being overworked by my mother-in-law at her house for so long. What? You're leaving? What's going on all of a sudden? We just bought the house. I'm fed up with both you and your mother. Your mother treats me like a maid, and that's why I bought this house. But then she comes over, saying nonsensical things like I should live in the attic. That should be fine, right? We're family. Hearing my husband's words made something snap inside me. It should be fine because we're family. Don't be ridiculous. For the first time, I raised my voice in anger at my husband. Don't mess with me. I felt sorry for you when you were laid off, but how long are you planning to keep being a NEET? You don't even seem to be looking for a job, and all you do is lay around every day. If you had so much free time, you could have taken care of your mother instead of me. I can't take this anymore. I'm going to divorce you." "Divorce? Wait, please. I really was looking for a job." "Then why has it taken so long? Working full-time isn't the only kind of job you could have. I could have tolerated it if you at least tried to find a part-time job, but you didn't even do that." "The conditions were bad. The pay was low." Making excuses to not work is just being spoiled. If you really felt sorry about having no income, you could at least get a part-time job. In the end, it seems like you only thought of me as nothing more than an ATM. I expected him to say something back, but he remained silent. "So, your silence means you agree with the divorce, right?" "Oh, okay. If you want to get divorced that much, let's get a divorce." What a pathetic man. If he had any pride, he'd rush out right now and look for any job, even a part-time one. Well, it's pointless to say anything more now. I had always kept a divorce form just in case, and I handed it to my husband. "Here, sign here right now. I'll leave once I get your signature." His hands trembled as he signed the divorce form with shaky handwriting. "There, I've signed it." I received the divorce form from my husband and checked that he had signed it properly. "Good, you've signed it properly. I'll file this at the courthouse. Also, I won't ask for alimony. I don't ever want to deal with you again in my life." With those words, I left the new house. I went straight to the courthouse and submitted the divorce form. Now I am a complete stranger to both my husband and my mother-in-law. Now that we are no longer related by family, I won't show any mercy to those two. I'll make sure they thoroughly fall into hell. After leaving the city hall, I headed to the real estate agency. Entering the office, I immediately said to the clerk, "I want to sell my house." The clerk, surprised by my sudden approach, attended to me. "Do you have the registry book?" "Yes, here it is." "I'll take a look." As the clerk opened the registry book, he froze. "What's wrong? Is there a reason it can't be sold? What's the matter?" "I apologize for interrupting you, but I believe you recently purchased this house. It was constructed less than 6 months ago." "Yes, I'm done using it. I don't require a home where those folks reside. I prefer that someone else reside there rather than have it exploited." The cashier seemed to grasp my predicament when I told this to him, and he started the selling process right away. "The contract is finished with this. When we locate a buyer, we'll get in touch with you." Comprehensive. Many thanks for it. Upon departing from the real estate office, I made the decision to return home to my parents. My parents were much more disturbed than I was when I told them about the divorce and explained the circumstances behind my unexpected homecoming. "They have caused you great pain. I'm never going to forgive them. I'll force them to pay." "Stop it, Dad. Additionally, I want no more involvement with them, so please simply maintain your composure." My father was difficult to calm down, but in the end he became composed. I made the decision to remain at my parents' place for the time being. Those two are undoubtedly carelessly enjoying their days 2 weeks later, not even realizing I sold the house. The phone rang when I was sipping coffee in the living room and brooding. Here it comes. "Hello, has it been decided?" "Yes, a buyer has been located, but before they move home, the buyer has asked that the fence be removed because they don't like it." "Oh, is that all there is to it? They didn't need to ask me to accomplish it. That is acceptable. What they want to do is up to them. Furthermore, I no longer possess the authority to object." "Well, your ex-husband and his mother are still living there." "That's fine. They were originally scheduled to move out after the house was sold, but because of the clerk's generosity, they were let to remain until a buyer was found. How about this? Tell me the day of the demolition, please. I will be present to supervise it." "I was informed that the fence at the house will be taken down the following Saturday. I started giggling uncontrollably once I hung up the phone. I could see those two going into a panic. Finally, the time for retaliation has arrived. I couldn't wait for that day. And then came the day of the demolition. At 8 in the morning, the fence was supposed to be demolished. An hour before the construction was scheduled to begin, I arrived, exhausted from my excitement the night before. I was eager for it to start. I looked at the time and saw that it was 7:50 a.m. The workers gathered one by one, and I noticed the real estate agent. He came over smiling as if he had spotted me. "Thank you for coming out here today." "No issue. I've been anticipating this." "Looking forward to it." "Never worry about that. It's simply a personal issue." "Remain calm. Are you certain that we shouldn't let the two individuals inside know about the destruction, by the way?" "It's all right. This method actually yields superior results. Please feel free to begin." Like a site supervisor, I cried out to the workers,